Stop. Stop scrolling. Not because this caught your eye and because something in you already knew this was not an accident. You did not find this word. This word found you. And the distinction matters more than you can measure right now, because what is about to be spoken was not prepared for a crowd or for a category of people, or for anyone who might happen to stumble here. It was prepared for one person, and that person stopped right here. Something was set in motion in the heavenlies before you found this. God had been watching, not a generation, not a movement, not a crowd. He had been watching you, waiting for you to do the one thing he had been holding his breath for. And you did it. You may not even know what it was, but he does. And today he sent this word to tell you, finally, you have been waiting. Not idly. You have been praying, believing, surrendering, and staying in position when everything in the natural said to give up or start over. You have watched people who came later move first. You have celebrated them, genuinely, and then sat alone with a question you were almost too afraid to finish. Why not me? That question has cost you more sleep than anyone around you knows. There is a particular kind of exhaustion that belongs only to those who have done everything right and still seen nothing move. It is not the exhaustion of failure. It is not the exhaustion of sin or wrong turns. It is the exhaustion of faithfulness, extended beyond the point where anyone told you to keep going. Faithfulness that required you to keep choosing the same position, the same trust, the same God, with nothing visible to show for it. And in the silence, the long unexplained silence, a story began to form. Not one you chose, but one that accumulated day by day like sediment. The story said, maybe this level of waiting means something is wrong. Maybe faithful people get answered, and silence means you are not who you thought you were. Maybe the blessing was redirected to someone more ready, more worthy, more certain. You never said those words out loud, but you heard them. You even began to wonder whether your faithfulness had been wasted on a God who stopped listening. Not because you stopped believing, but because believing without any response, for that long, begins to feel like a conversation only one side is having. I want you to know he heard every word, every single one, and what he was doing while he was silent is exactly what I am here to tell you. There is an image I want you to hold for just a moment. Hold it, do not interpret it yet, I will return to it. A bowstring pulled all the way back, not resting, not broken, not abandoned mid-draw, pulled to full tension, holding every ounce of force the archer placed into it, waiting for one specific thing, the release. Let the image sit. It belongs to what is coming. What is being delivered today is not a word for people who are still waiting. I need you to hear that clearly. This is a word for people whose waiting has just ended, even if nothing in the natural has confirmed it yet. The announcement precedes the evidence. That is not a theological abstraction. That is the order heaven operates in, and today, for you, the announcement has arrived. If something in your spirit already recognizes what is being said, if these words are landing somewhere that feels less like information and more like confirmation, type the words, "I am here," in the comments right now. Not as engagement, as a declaration, as your covenant acknowledgement that you showed up for what was prepared specifically for you. Then stay with me. There is more. I have something specific to deliver. A word was given, and it has your name on it. Not your category, not your season, not your need, and your name. And before this word is complete, you will understand not just what God is doing now. You will understand what he was doing the entire time you could not see him move. I have not yet told you the most important thing. Before I name what I see, I need you to do something, not later, now. Close anything else that is competing for your attention. If you are somewhere you can place your hand on your chest, do it. Not as a gesture, as a signal to your own spirit that what is about to be spoken is not background noise. You are not a passive observer of this word. You are its intended recipient. Receive it that way. Take a breath, not because you are anxious, but because what is about to be listed will require your full presence to receive correctly. You may have heard things described before and dismissed them as general, as coincidence, as belonging to someone more qualified. I need you to resist that reflex for the next few minutes. Stay open, because what I am about to name is not a category. It is a portrait, and it was drawn from your life. The first sign is this: You did not quit. And I do not mean that casually. There were moments, specific, dateable moments, where quitting was not just tempting, it was reasonable. Every visible indicator pointed toward release, toward pivot, toward starting over, and yet something in you that you could not fully explain held its position. You could not manufacture a logical reason to stay. You stayed anyway. That is not stubbornness. That is a rope that does not know it is being wound. The second sign, in the middle of the silence, you had clarity you could not account for. Not clarity about the outcome, not clarity about the timeline. Clarity that this, whatever this was you were holding, was still yours to hold. Other people gave you permission to let go. Wise people, loving people, people who wanted the best for you, and you heard them, and you still knew that knowing without evidence is not delusion. It is the signal of a covenant that was sealed before your waiting began. The third sign, you are not the same person who entered this season. Something was worked into you during the silence that cannot be manufactured in the noise. A patience that goes deeper than character. A faith that no longer requires the encouragement it used to need. A quality of stillness in the center of your life that surprises even you sometimes. You did not build it. It was built into you. Every day the rope was wound, you became more of what the release required. The fourth sign, there was a specific act, you know the one, that cost you something real, a surrender, a decision made in private, a declaration that no one witnessed, an act of faithfulness performed in a room with no audience. You may have told yourself it was small. The heavens did not receive it as small. That act was the thing God had been waiting for, not because it was perfect, because it was the crossing of a threshold only you could cross, at the exact moment only you could cross it. The fifth sign, something has shifted in the last few days. You may not have had language for it before now, a restlessness that is not anxiety, an alertness in your spirit that feels less like anticipation and more like arrival. You may have felt it as urgency, a sense that something needs to be received, settled, confirmed. That is not coincidence. That is your spirit registering what heaven already announced. The shift happened before you found this word. This word is simply the confirmation. Do you feel the weight of what just happened? Not one of those things I named was an accident, and not one of them belongs to the category of coincidence. Taken alone, any one of them could be dismissed. Taken together, the staying, the knowing, the transformation, the act, the shift, they form a singular portrait of someone who was not just waiting for God. They form the portrait of someone God was waiting for. The image of the bowstring returns here, but differently now. The tension was never a problem to be solved. It was the architecture of the release. If what I just described is your life, not close to your life, not similar to your life, but your life, type the word "finally" in the comments right now. Not as an emoji, not as a reaction, as a covenant acknowledgement that you received what was prepared for you. Type it as the same word God said when you crossed the threshold, because that is the word He used. And when you type it, know that you are agreeing with a declaration that was already made on your behalf before you pressed play. Here is what you must understand before we go further. Every one of those 5 signs will be recontextualized by what is coming next. You understood them as personal history. The revelation ahead will show you that they were spiritual architecture, not events that happened to you, but construction that was happening through you. The portrait is not just descriptive, it is functional, and the function is about to be named. Stay with me, because what heaven recorded when you did it is not what you think. What you identified as your act of faithfulness, heaven classified differently. There is a name for what you became through this process, and it is older than the English language that carried the word wait into your theology and made you believe God was sitting still. He was not sitting still. There is a word in the original Hebrew that will change everything you thought you knew about what God was doing while you waited. It will not just reframe the silence, it will reframe you, who you are, what was happening inside the waiting, and why what is released now carries a weight that ordinary blessing does not. Do not move. That word is next. The Hebrew word is yakal, pronounced yakal, with the second syllable held at the back of the throat. You have encountered it before without knowing it. It surfaces in Psalm 130, in Isaiah 40, in Lamentations 3, in every passage where a human being is told to wait on God, and in every passage where God himself is described as waiting. This word has been woven through your story for years. You are only now being given its true name. Most translations render yakal as to wait or to hope. That translation is not dishonest. It simply arrives at the surface and stops. It tells you what yakal produces without telling you what yakal is. Because in the ancient world, before this word was softened into passive expectation, it described something entirely physical, the action of a craftsman winding fiber into rope, twisting, coiling, building stored tension into material with every deliberate revolution, turn after turn, until the cord held more force than it began with. This is not a word about stillness. Yakal is the language of a bowyer winding gut into a bowstring, every turn increasing what the material holds, every revolution building pressure that will eventually convert into velocity. The word your theology handed you was wait. The word heaven was using the entire time was this, the language of maximum tension, being constructed with intentional hands, aimed at a release already measured and prepared. Here is where this word rewrites your history. Isaiah 30:18 reads, "Therefore God waits to be gracious to you." Yakal. He was not sitting still. He was coiling. Every month of your silence was not a month God was absent from your file. It was another revolution of the rope, another layer of tension wound into the fiber of who you were becoming. God was not waiting for the season to change. He was winding you until you could carry what was about to be released through you. The bowstring returns here, and you must receive it differently now. When it appeared at the opening of this word, you saw potential, something drawn back holding. Now you know what the drawing was. It was not tension inflicted upon you. It was tension built into you. The archer's hands were God's hands. Every inch of the pull was architecture, not abandonment. And what was being prepared was not simply a blessing to receive. It was a trajectory no shorter season of winding could have produced. There is something about the rope I have not yet told you. When a craftsman winds cord, the individual fiber does not know it is being coiled. It does not experience itself becoming more powerful than it began. It only experiences the winding, the pressure, the constriction, the weight of each new layer added above it. And yet, when the rope is complete, every single thread is load-bearing. Every fiber that endured the winding is now essential to the release. You are not separate from the process. You were the material the process was building. Now I need you to look at someone else who was yakal, someone whose story has been quietly rehearsing yours. She was faithful longer than the faithfulness was comfortable. Year after year, she brought her worship, her sacrifice, her presence before God. And year after year, the thing she carried in the deepest chamber of her longing remained sealed. She was not sinful. She was not lacking in belief. She was simply held. And the holding produced a grief only those who have been faithful without visible result can recognize, not the grief of failure, but the grief of a promise that had not yet moved. Her name was Hannah. And in her grief there was something that refused to let go. Not stubbornness, not delusion, but a quality of holding that no argument or comfort could dissolve. She returned to the same altar that had yet to return anything. She remained at the table with those whose answers had already come, and she stayed, not because she lacked other options, because what she was carrying could not be released to anyone other than the one who gave it. That quality and the refusing to set it down was yakal in a human life. Then there was a moment, not the moment of the answer, the moment before it. A specific, interior private act that no ceremony recorded and no witness confirmed. Hannah moved from petitioner to covenant partner, not, "God, please give me this," but, "God, if you open this, it was never mine to keep." She crossed a threshold that can only be crossed from the inside, and the text says something quietly devastating. She was no longer sad, not because anything visible had changed. The womb was still closed when she rose from her knees, but the winding had completed. The rope had been released in the spirit before a single thing moved in the natural. That is where you are right now, not approaching this, not reaching toward it from a distance. You are Hannah on the morning after the vow, standing at the moment when what heaven has already sealed has not yet finished arriving in the visible. The spiritual reality is complete. The natural is aligning. And what you did, that specific, weighted, private act, was your threshold. The words required the years. The years had built what the act required. This is not coincidence assembled from your history. This is Yakal completing its purpose. God did not say finally with relief, as if the waiting had been as difficult for him as it was for you. He said it with the tone of a craftsman setting down his tools, looking at what he had built and declaring, "This is ready." You are ready, and what is released now is not only what you asked for, it carries the accumulated force of every year that wound it. Blessing at this velocity does not arrive quietly. Now declare this with your lips, not in your mind, but audibly. Even if your voice is barely above silence, speak it as covenant, not as comfort. I was not abandoned. I was being coiled. Say it once, let it move from concept into agreement, because the rope does not release in silence, it releases with sound. And what you are doing right now, agreeing with what heaven declared before you arrived here, is the sound of a threshold being acknowledged. Understand what Yakal names. It does not only describe the process you endured, it names what you became through it. In the ancient world, the craftsman did not name the waiting. He named the rope. The waiting was the method. The rope was the result. You are the result, not someone who survived the winding, someone who became the rope, wound under intentional pressure, held at full tension, and now released with force proportional to every year that preceded this moment. Because Yakal names, not just what happened, but what was produced, it carries implications that extend beyond this moment of release. A rope is not wound in order to rest. It does not complete its coiling in order to lie still on the ground. The craftsman wound it because something needed to be sent, because there was a target already measured, a distance already known, a direction already set before the first strand was twisted. You are not merely the recipient of what is released. You are the release itself, and the commission embedded in that is something I have not yet given you language for. There are 3 names heaven records when the winding completes and the rope is sent. 3 names that belong to you now, not metaphorically, not aspirationally, but by declaration. They were sealed the moment you crossed the threshold. I told you I would return to this. We are almost there. But before I name what you have become, there is one more thing you must understand, because it is the layer the enemy will move immediately to obscure, and you need to know it before he tries. The deepest truth is still ahead, and it has your name on it. The craftsman does not set down the rope because the work is finished. He sets it down because the rope is finished, because what began as raw fiber has become something that can carry force. Before a single door opens, before any natural confirmation arrives, heaven has already marked the ledger. You did not cross the threshold without the record being updated. The question is whether you know what was written there. You are about to. Names given in heaven are not decorative. They are operational. When God renamed Abram, he was not expressing sentiment. He was changing what Abram was authorized to carry and where Abram was authorized to go. The name was not a reflection of a new reality. The name was the mechanism that unlocked it. What I am about to give you are not titles. They are keys. They were cut before you arrived here. The first name heaven recorded when you crossed the threshold is this: the finisher. Not because you finished perfectly, because you finished. Thousands began what you began, prayed what you prayed, carried what you carried. Many released it before the threshold appeared. You did not. You stayed until the act was complete. In heaven's language, the finisher is not the one without struggle. It is the one who refused to let the struggle write the ending. The finisher is authorized to declare things finished. When you speak, it is done over something not yet visible in the natural. You are not being presumptuous. You are operating from the authority your threshold secured. What is finished in the spirit does not need your permission to arrive, but it does need your voice to agree with what was sealed. You are no longer petitioning, the finisher declares. The second name requires more courage to receive. The coiled one released. This name belongs to those whose years of waiting produced something a shorter season could not have manufactured. The silence wound you tighter with every revolution. The years did not subtract from you, they coiled into you. What releases now is not only what you asked for, it is everything that was built into the asking. The coiled one released does not move slowly. A rope at full tension does not drift. It launches. The acceleration coming in your life is not reward for suffering. It is the physics of stored force. Every person who witnesses what God does in your next season will not understand the velocity. They will not know about the winding, but you will. And that knowledge keeps the release from becoming pride. The third name carries the highest weight, and it is the one the enemy will resist most aggressively. The sent one. A rope is never wound in order to remain on the craftsman's table. The winding was always preparation for sending. God did not say finally so that you could arrive at comfort. He said it because what he built through you was always meant to move, beyond you toward others. The sent one carries authority in motion. Where you go from this threshold, you do not go empty. Every step carries the weight of what was coiled. Every word you speak from this season carries the force of what was released. You are not someone hoping to be used, you are someone already deployed. The sent one does not ask permission to move, they ask direction, and they are already moving when the answer comes. Before you go further, do this. Place your hand on your chest and speak these three names aloud, not as description, not as aspiration, but as declaration. The finisher, the coiled one released, the sent one. If you are somewhere you cannot speak above a whisper, whisper. The volume does not matter, the agreement does. These names were sealed before you arrived here. Your voice is the covenant acknowledgement. If these three names landed in you as recognition rather than introduction, if the finisher, the coiled one released, and the sent one are names your spirit already knew before I spoke them, gently press the like on this word right now, not for me, because someone in your circle is still in their waiting room, still holding, still wondering whether God has passed them by. Your agreement sends this word to them. The rope appeared at the opening of this word, as an image held briefly, then released. It returned at Yakal as architecture, the craftsman's hands, the coiling, the stored force. It arrived in these three names as identity. You are not the one who survived the winding. You are what the winding produced. There is one final thing the rope reveals, but it belongs to what comes next. I promised I would come back to something. I will. But first, there is something critical you need to understand about what happens next, because the enemy already knows these names were spoken over you. He watched this entire declaration land, and in the next 48 hours, he will move with precision against what was just sealed. You need to know what he will do before you leave this word. Stay with me. The enemy was present for every word of that declaration. He observed the names land. He watched you receive the finisher, the coiled one released, the sent one. And he knows precisely what those names authorize in your life. What comes in the next 48 hours will not be random opposition. It will be a coordinated response to a specific threat. You need to know his three moves before he makes them. The first tactic arrives wearing your own voice, calm, reasonable, careful. It begins rewriting the act that crossed the threshold. That wasn't actually significant. You've thought you heard from God before and been wrong. This was emotion, not revelation. It presents as humility and functions as spiritual amnesia. The goal is to dissolve the threshold beneath your feet so you cannot stand on what was sealed. This is not conviction. It is retroactive invalidation. The first weapon is physical. Before you close this word, before anything else competes, write down the date and the act. One sentence. What you did and what was declared over you today. The enemy cannot revise a dated physical record. He can cloud your memory. He cannot alter ink on paper. Write it before you move. The finisher does not leave the threshold without marking it. The second tactic comes dressed as wisdom. A quiet internal voice counsels, wait until you see evidence before you speak this aloud. Wait for confirmation before you claim it publicly. What sounds like spiritual prudence is a surgical cut, severing the declaration before it can seed into the atmosphere around you. The enemy knows that spoken agreement activates what silent agreement only receives. He will not prevent you from believing. He will try to keep you from saying it. The second weapon is a deadline. Within 24 hours, speak this word to one person, not as testimony of what happened here. As present tense declaration, what God has done is complete. You do not need their agreement for this to be true. You need your own voice to carry the weight of what heaven announced. Choose the person before you press pause. The sent one does not wait for evidence to declare. The declaration is what precedes the evidence. The third tactic is the most dangerous because it will feel like the answer. Shortly after this word, possibly hours, possibly days, a smaller blessing will appear. Close enough to what you have been waiting for to feel like fulfillment. Small enough to stop you before you reach the scale of what was actually prepared. The enemy's goal is not to prevent your release, it is substitution. Settling the coiled one released for an imitation before the true launch arrives. The third weapon is restraint with discernment. For the next 40 days, receive whatever arrives graciously, gratefully, without anchoring your covenant to it. Not every open door is the door. Not every provision is the provision. What releases from years of winding does not arrive quietly. When the true release comes, you will not need to talk yourself into recognizing it. Until then, hold the discernment. The coiled one released does not settle for what is merely close. If you are still standing on this word, if these three tactics and three weapons landed with the weight of forewarning rather than information, subscribe to this channel now, not for content, so that the next word prepared for your specific step finds you before you take it alone. What God is building in your life is not a single declaration, it is a sequence. Each new territory will require the specific word that belongs to it. Subscribe so that what was prepared for your next move reaches you without delay. You entered Act 5 equipped. The tactics are named. The weapons are in your hands. What follows now is not more preparation. There is nothing left to prepare. What follows is the sealing of everything spoken, the breaking of every chain the enemy will attempt to use, and the formal release of what was coiled. The prayer is here, and it was designed for exactly the person you are right now, standing at this threshold named, armed, and sent. Do not move away from this word yet. Close your eyes if you are able. If not, lower them. Place your hand on your chest, not as a gesture, but as a signal to your own spirit that what is about to be declared requires your full presence to receive. You are not an observer of what follows. You are the subject of it. This prayer was not prepared for a crowd. Every word that comes now was written with your name beside it. Take one slow breath. Hold it. Release it. What follows is not petition. There is nothing left to petition. The act was made. The threshold was crossed. The rope was complete. What follows is a formal declaration over someone already sealed. You are not arriving here hoping something will change. You are receiving the announcement of what heaven recorded before you found this word. Stand in it. Every year you filed under unanswered, release it now. Not because the silence was easy, but because heaven renamed those years. They were not empty years. They were coiling years. Failure was the enemy's label for a process God was superintending from the first day. You are releasing the false name, not denying the pain. The pain was real. The interpretation was wrong. Heaven's name for those years now stands. You release the identity of the one who was passed over. Not chosen, not yet. Someone else's turn. That name was assembled by delay. God never gave it to you. You wore it long enough to forget you never agreed to it. That identity belongs to a closed season. It does not cross this threshold with you. You leave it here, behind you, where it carries no authority over anything ahead. You release the record of every self-disqualification spoken in the dark, every "maybe I misheard" and "perhaps I was wrong about what God said." The enemy filed each one as evidence. That record is expunged, not because you were never uncertain, but because uncertainty was never the final authority. What God declared over you before you were formed is the only record that carries weight in this hour. That record stands. You release the voice that said, "Not you." The one that arrived wearing the sound of wisdom and agreed with your doubt before you could name it as a lie. That voice has spoken over your direction for the last time. You are releasing it, not through willpower, but because what was sealed in heaven cannot be argued open by a voice never authorized to decide your assignment. That voice has no ground here. I call forward the finisher, the one who crossed the threshold when every visible indicator permitted retreat. You are now authorized to declare things finished before they are visible in the natural, not as presumption, as prophetic agreement with what heaven already recorded. You do not petition from this identity, you declare. Every room you enter from this threshold, you carry the authority of someone whose act was witnessed and whose completion was sealed. I call forward the coiled one released, the one in whom years of tension have converted into kinetic force. Every year of silence, every act of faithfulness without visible return, it is stored energy now in motion. You do not drift from this threshold, you launch. The acceleration others will witness in your life is not reward for suffering, it is the physics of what was coiled. This identity does not coast. It moves with the velocity only years of winding can produce. I call forward the sent one, the one whose release was never meant to end at comfort. The rope was wound because there was a target already measured, a direction set before the first strand was twisted. Where you go from this threshold, you do not go empty. Every word you speak carries the accumulated force of the coiling. The sent one does not ask permission to move. The sent one asks direction and is already moving when the answer arrives. Type these words in the comments right now. I am the finisher. I am the coiled one released. I am the sent one. Not as aspiration, as covenant declaration. The same words heaven used when it updated your record. Let that comment stand as a boundary marker between who you were before you pressed play and who you are now. Type it as the decree it is. Your agreement in this moment carries weight that will be legible in what comes next. The rope appeared first as a passing image, held at full tension, waiting. It returned as yakal, the craftsman's hands building force into fiber in the dark. It arrived as your three names. Now the image completes itself. The craftsman has set his tools down. The rope is finished. The arrow is released, and the arrow does not turn back to ask if it is ready. It goes. Everything coiled in you goes with it. Do not say amen yet. We are not finished. There is a covering that has not been placed, a father's voice that has not yet spoken, and a breaking that must still be declared over what the enemy will attempt in the next 48 hours. You have been released. You have been activated. But the sealing is not complete. Stay with me. What comes next is exactly what this entire word was built to carry. I place a covering over your mind right now, a hedge that no retroactive doubt can cross in the next 48 hours. What was sealed in this word will not be dissolved by the quiet, reasonable voice that arrives after you close this and walks you through every reason to second-guess what you received. The clarity of this crossing is protected. What you heard does not require your certainty to be unshakable or your circumstances to immediately confirm it in order to remain permanently true. Your mind is covered. The record stands. I place a covering over your mouth, not to silence it, but to authorize it. Every declaration that leaves your lips from this threshold carries the weight of a sent one. No assignment of premature silence will close what heaven opened in this word. You are not waiting for visible evidence before you speak. You are speaking because what you are about to declare was sealed before the confirmation arrives. No counsel of wait until you see it first will stand as the final word over you. Your mouth is covered. What you release will not return empty. I place a covering over every step you take from this threshold. Forward motion, covered against substitution and counterfeit at every intersection. No imitation blessing will successfully present itself as the release God prepared through years of coiling. Your discernment is sealed and active. The 40 days ahead are covered. No smaller offer dressed as your answer will displace what was wound under years of intentional pressure. What God aimed at when He wound you was a specific target, and you will reach it, not because your aim is perfect, but because the archer never misses. You will reach what you were sent toward. We break the spirit of retroactive invalidation in Jesus' name. This threshold was real, it was witnessed, and nothing formed against its record will succeed. We break every assignment of premature silence. The declaration this sent one carries goes into the air before the first visible confirmation appears. We break the counterfeit release. What was coiled through years of faithful tension will not be settled for what merely arrives first. I saw you sit in the room when someone else's name was called. I saw you celebrate them, genuinely, without the bitterness you could have chosen, and no one would have faulted you for. And then return to the same position, the same trust, the same God, holding what only you were responsible for holding. I saw the question you would not finish aloud, the one that cost you sleep across seasons. I heard every word of it. I did not answer it then because the answer was not a word. The answer was what I was building. I know what the silence felt like from the inside of it. I'm not speaking from a comfortable distance. I'm close enough to tell you what I was doing in every quiet month you waited, without visible return. I was coiling. Every day I sent no sign. I was adding another layer of stored force into the fiber of who you were becoming. My silence was not my absence. It was my most concentrated, most deliberate, most personal attention. You interpreted the quiet as distance. Heaven's record reads something entirely different. You were the one person I would not take my eyes from. When you did that thing, the one you believed was small, the one you thought no one witnessed, I was there. And the word I used in that exact moment was, finally. Not with relief, with arrival. With the tone of a craftsman setting down his tools after the last winding and looking at what years of intention produced. You thought it passed unrecorded, the way ordinary moments pass. But ordinary moments do not move heaven, and that one did. Not because it was flawless, because it was the precise act I had been building you toward from the beginning. You did not make me wait one day longer than the rope required. Every voice that said, not you, hear this clearly now because I want it settled permanently. I was never the one who sent it. I never placed your name under the category of the unchosen. I wrote your name in the record before you were formed, not as a contingency, not as a secondary option, not as a replacement for someone who failed to appear. The commission you carry was shaped to the precise dimensions of who you became through the coiling. There is no one else this belongs to. It does not transfer. You are the one I was waiting for. That is not comfort. That is the permanent entry. What I am releasing through you now is not simply the answer to what you asked for. It is everything I loaded into the years of silence. Every faithful act no audience witnessed. Every year of holding without visible return. Every surrender made in a room with no one watching. It is all in the release now, carrying the force of every revolution of the rope. You go, not when you feel ready, because readiness arrives in motion, not before it. I said finally when you first crossed over. I say it now, over your release, for the last time. Finally. You are exactly who I was waiting for. Go. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. Do not say amen yet. Sit in this. Let what was sealed here settle into you before anything else competes for your attention. You crossed a threshold today that cannot be uncrossed, not by doubt, not by delay, not by anything the next 48 hours produce. The covering is placed. The names are declared. The Father has spoken over you by name. Be here for the weight of that, fully without moving toward the next thing, because some moments only come once, and you are standing in one of them right now. Now, you may say, Amen. Send this to someone whose faith is still standing, but whose hands are getting tired. You do not need to write anything alongside it. They will recognize it from the first words. They have been in the waiting room longer than they have told anyone. They have celebrated others' answers quietly, returned to the same position, held what only they were responsible for holding, and asked the question you almost did not finish. You know exactly who I am describing. Send it to them before you close this. That act, the sending, is a sent one, moving in the very first minute of their commission. You do not need to do anything with this moment except remain in it for as long as it holds you. The word has been spoken. The names have been sealed. The Father has spoken over you by name. What God set in motion before you arrived here is not contingent on your performance from this point forward. It was sealed before you pressed play. You are not leaving here the same as you came. The rope does not return to the craftsman's hands after release. You are in motion. You were aimed before you were wound, and you will reach everything it was aimed at.